Hello, welcome. Bits and Bobs coming at you. Happy to be here once again, and alongside me, Ronan Mullen. Hey, Roland.
Welcome to you, Joe.
Thank you. And John Greene is with us as well, Sunday independent sports editor and more besides. John, hello.
Welcome back, Joe.
Thanks. Good to be back, everyone. A lot of fear last night.
Really?
Oh my God.
The Glen Rose. The Glen Rose on a Wednesday.
The Glen Rose is exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why come back on a Thursday? Too much. You could have.
I see the logic, John, because it means Friday's tomorrow. So you're staring into a weekend already. It's great. You've already boxed off week one.
I'm over the hump, you know. There was a reason. It was to do with where we were. We went to Mallorca for guts of 8-9 days, and then I was just faffing around for a few. So at the K Club the other day. And now here we are. It's never as bad. It's always the night before is way worse than the day of.
With this kind of job in particular, you kind of have to just plug back in and get to speed with stuff. In other brief sojourn outside of journalism, like you do have a window to calibrate.
I always feel like you're not allowed to come back and say, "What did I miss?" Because the expectation is that you were continuing to work while you were on holidays.
Well, I did keep an eye on some things, but just stuff that came my way as opposed to seeking it out. I was saying to Ronan that when I was away in Mallorca for the first few days, I said, right, that's it. I'm leaving my plane on airplane. Or sorry, leaving my phone on airplane mode. I'm not checking. I'm going to do a bit of a detox. And by day 2 or 3, I was that inside my own head that I took the soother back out and allowed myself the phone. I'm sure if I'd persevered and got over the mountain, I would have been in a place of zen. But as it was, I was like being ambushed by all these unresolved things. You know what I mean? Big and small. Oh, why did I say that thing to your man 6 months ago? That kind of stuff. And I got to a point on day 2 or 3 of the holiday where I said, I want to get off my brain. I need to get off. I'm just going to go back to what's happened on Twitter to distract myself from myself. She's chilling realization. No. But then once I allowed myself my phone again, it was a great time.
I was watching a clip of John B. Keane on YouTube. It was an old interview, and for some reason he popped into my head, and I called it up. And he was talking. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where he's talking about the joy of a pint and a glass of whiskey, and then about he'd given up. Or his wife Mary comes in and says, he gave up the drink at one stage, and after 3 days they kind of said, look, we think you should probably go back on it, because he was just stamping up and down the hall and closing the windows.
Yeah.
He just, he was just talking about that beauty of just being able to sit and having a pint and chasing it with a glass of whiskey. So he was strongly encouraged by his family after 3 days to go back to having his pint and his
There was
whiskey.
a big theme in The Weir, which is on at the moment. Brendan Gleeson and Tom Von Lauder, Sean McGinley.
Stellar cast. I haven't
Oh,
been to it, but
I
stellar
went to it on
cast.
Monday. God, it was amazing. But life was generally another one, and a short, Good luck. That was a lot to be said for it. I did see on the emails, I went through some this morning, Monday 25th of August. Hi, Joe. More John Greene talking about Longford, please. Sincerely, David. Okay. What have I missed here? And Owen, hi lads, I just wanted to put my support behind Ronan, not for president, which we'll come to, behind a deep dive into what's going on with WWE, UFC, TKO. Owen, is that what's happening with Ariel Helwani?
It's on the way, yeah.
Okay. Ariel Helwani will be on the show imminently. So I guess in terms of what's going on, Ireland, Hungary is just looming so massively on the horizon Saturday evening. We'll do a special podcast on Saturday night, by the way. I'm going to go into the match and I'll record with Dan McDonnell and Aidan Fitzmaurice post-game. And it will either be a, here we go, everything is possible kind of a chat, or a draw somewhere. Draw, not the end of the world, but if it's a loss, then you know what Dan McDonnell loves doing? He loves doing this on the assumption that like the curtain has come down on yet another qualification campaign. He goes and he checks the date of the next meaningful match, and it's always, well, I've looked now, it's 2 years and 3 months until our next meaningful match. And I swear, if he's doing that to me on Saturday night at 10 o'clock, it'll be fairly depressing.
That'll be a bit soon, but if we've 3 points after 2 games, are we starting to look to the next meaningful fixture at that point? Are we gone?
As in lose on Saturday, beat Armenia?
Yeah. I think
probably.
We could have a spirited performance on Saturday. I made this point yesterday, and draw. and people will come out of that and think that was fine. But if you look at this in the round, when the campaign is said and done, if we have any chance of finishing second in the group, have to beat Hungary at home, have to get at least a positive result in Armenia, or if not, beat them. It's just the way the fixtures have fallen. The key fixture of the whole thing is on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. If this fixture was at the end, we would need 3 points in Hungary against Hungary at home more than likely. Just because it's coming first doesn't mean we don't. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think the reality, realistically, is
Both things are true. A draw is a reasonable result. If we're going to qualify or get the second place spot, we probably need to beat Hungary.
Yeah. I saw John O'Shea was saying the big thing we're looking for is clean sheets across this campaign, like a steeliness. We don't keep that many of them. We probably don't see ourselves as porous, but I just had a look back out of interest. Last 8 games, we've had 2 clean sheets. Now, one of them was that 0-0 draw, long forgotten, just the summer gone by against Luxembourg. That was a non-event. That shouldn't really even count. But like Senegal, we conceded.
That happened.
Yeah, it did, yeah. Senegal, we conceded. Bulgaria, to be fair, we won both games 2-1, but we did concede a goal. That was this year. 2024, there was the England 5-0. The other clean sheet was against Finland. Greece scored 2, Finland scored 1. England in that friendly this time last year where they dominated. Lee Carsley was manager, remember all that? They scored 2. So, aside from the 5-0, which was its own unique game at Wembley, we kind of concede 1 or 2. Generally 1. That's about where we are. The problem, of course, is when we concede, it becomes very difficult for us because goals for, I had a look through this. This was kind of eye-opening. It's as you'd expect, by the way. There's no shocking news here. The last time we scored more than 2 goals in a game, more than 2. If you assume we won't keep a clean sheet, 2025 didn't happen. 2024 didn't happen. You have to go back to 2023, Gibraltar twice and Latvia, and then in 2022 it was Armenia. So really, the last time you'd say against kind of notable opposition we scored more than 2 goals was that 3-0 win against Scotland.
Oh yeah,
that was in the summer of 22. Probably Stephen Kenny's best day, like the most promising day, that 3-0 win against Scotland.
Yeah. Michael Obafemi on fire.
Yeah. So that's 30 games back to Scotland without us scoring more than 2, So if we're going to do this, it's a 1-0,
Before you even
win.
read those out, if you were asked to predict your score for Saturday, I think the only 2 you would come up with, if it's an Ireland win, are 1-0 or 2-1.
Yes. I completely.
If we're winning.
If we're winning, yeah. It feels like we'll score 0, 1 or 2, and they'll score 0, 1 or 2.
Yeah. I think Ireland qualifying is a big ask. Like, we haven't, short of Heimir and his law of attraction and talking about this with positive inclination, there's nothing to suggest we've made enough strides to get over this World Cup hurdle when we've had better teams since 2002. So what I really want is that you're not having that conversation with Dan on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because Aidan Fitzmaurice had a good stat yesterday that from the last 48 points available in double headers to start campaigns.
Last 48 in double headers.
Start any qualification campaign, we've won 10 points from a possible 48. So just
let's don't start well.
Let's just not have that again, where it's over straight away. Like, remember Luxembourg beat us at the Aviva, like that kind of thing. Like, just straight away, that's it.
Yeah.
So let's just keep it alive. And 6 points from 6 is the absolute dream. 4 would be amazing. So let's just hopefully we can get that.
It's great. There's a great sense of optimism this week, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
I think I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know much about the guy, but like Heimir, there's a good vibe off him, isn't there? There's a kind of a calmness and
there's an assuredness, confidence, common sense.
Common sense, yeah.
He's not trying to do anything too ambitious with the team. He's not going to do anything silly.
Yeah,
and that goes a long enough way.
He just has a good.
Yeah, and I think players can take a lot of confidence from that. Like there's a sense of, my feeling is he's built a reasonably good foundation of, you can trust me, I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel, I'm not going to do anything silly, I'll be reasonably honest with everyone. And I think players can go, okay, this is a steady-ish
He radiates confidence in himself without being
arrogant. Or like, you're protesting a bit too much here. I think it's like even Dan would say he'll just wander over, hands in his pockets, to the journalist for a chat. But not in a... Brendan Rodgers, I'm charming
Yeah,
the
yeah.
press kind of way, more in just you're a grown up, I'm a
Here we
grown up.
say it, he's probably a nice guy.
Yeah, he seems to be. I think a few other things, like obviously you take Evan where Evan Ferguson was 2 months ago, which was clubless. Really, it felt like, and sure, with the last year we've seen him for Ireland, he hasn't been fit even when he's played. So him like winning man of the matches for Roma and scoring goals and fit, that must make Ireland 15 to 20% better. That must imbue the whole team with a sense of, okay, let's dig in here because he could win us the game. He could nick us a goal. And then there seems to be a growing feeling that he played a 3-4-2-1 against Luxembourg, and that's what Hungary plays well, that he'll match them up. So you're kind of looking at your back three come five, Josh Cullen and Jason Knight sit in the middle. Don't stray too much. Just try and dig in, keep safe, and then some combination of Finn Azaz, Sammy Smodics behind Ferguson, two boys bombing on, probably Manning and Doherty, and okay, crowd behind them. Yeah. Again, just a common sense, no massive square pegs round holes.
We're probably okay at the back. We're okay up front. We're okay in goals, but we probably midfield could be.
It's a big problem. Yeah, we won't control the game for large swathes with Josh Cullen firing.
Possibly.
No, you won't have Josh Cullen firing passes through the lines into Ferguson's feet very often. It'll be a down the flanks kind of a thing. Or again,
but a fit Ferguson changes things.
It does change things.
The ball sticks when it goes to him.
Correct. Yeah.
He's very good at. He's very good at bringing other players into taking a touch, feeding it off, turning.
That was his MO at Brighton.
Yeah.
So like his fitness. I mean, Troy Parrott's a huge loss because he was just. I thought he played really well for Ireland earlier this year, and he's fit and he's in the habit of scoring goals. But that Ferguson has come back into the fold the way he has definitely compensates for that a lot.
It's a killer though. He's going to miss the October games as well, I think.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed in the lead into this is a sprint. Like, this is a 10-week campaign and he's essentially missing half the games.
Yeah.
And for all that Heimir has spoken to, and I don't know if this is a virtue or not, but he says, like, this squad, they're all capable of starting. So that is, in a roundabout way, is saying there's no, like,
standout,
absolute nailed-on starters, but he loves Parrott. Like, that's evident to see. Like, he gets him in the team one way or another every time.
He's been really, really good.
And he's so lively. And to John's point on making it stick, like, you can fire the ball into him and he'll hold on to it. Like, which is an invaluable thing in international football, especially when you're playing superior opposition.
I do think maybe if they have good games and they're used the right way, Azaz or Smodics can do that too. They have a touch, they have a turn, they can move with the ball. So it's not like it was Wes Houlihan or no one. I think those guys can do that a little bit.
And Ogbene is back, and he was the best player in the Stephen Kenny reign. And ironically, he had a terrible injury. Did a good piece with Sean O'Connor in the paper actually around that. But he's had to move on loan because he can't get a game at Ipswich. And Casey McAteer was signed, who will be behind him in the Ireland pecking order presumably. But Ogbene will start ahead of him if he's anyway fit, because he brings something to the party that none of our other players do. And if Ferguson is holding it up, at least Ogbene can get in behind.
Gives him,
absolutely.
Gives them the right to.
Yeah, and it's not unusual. It kind of, you've seen this with Ireland players in particular, where their international starts belie their club form.
Yeah. They were the good old days.
Like even Jason McAteer scored the goal that got us to the last World Cup. He was a full-time international player at that stage.
At that stage, Graham Souness had said no. There is the grisly backdrop for the FAI, I suppose, of the Eileen Gleeson action against them, which is a major headache for them. Mark Tye with all the details on that story this week on the podcast. And then the job cuts, naturally enough, has not gone down very well with lots of people. So they currently employ around 250 people, the FAI. They're looking for voluntary redundancies at the moment, potentially up to a third of the workforce. Like in their statement, it was kind of damning because they said the reason for this, as well as being 40 million in the red, is we, quote, do not currently have the required framework and specific skill sets to implement vital strategies. AKA, we don't have the quality of people working for us to do what we need to do for Irish football. And we need to get a load of people out and get new people in. And they said they'd gone to outside consultants and talked to UEFA, benchmarking from them. But SIP2 obviously not going to abandon many of the workers who they represent, they said they had reached out to the FAI. FAI hadn't come back to them, and they're not ruling out industrial action. So look, it has the potential to all get very, very messy for them. Therefore, Saturday you win, everyone's feeling good. That stuff kind of, yeah, it's off Broadway compared to we could be going to World Cup. You lose, mood is down. It's just going to be one of those periods again for the FAI, I think.
It's extraordinary how they become the masters of the own goal.
Yeah.
The tone of that statement, I think Dion said it last week. I mean, it was scandalous. I mean, to come out and publicly say that your workforce isn't up to it.
Too honest.
What have you done to? What have you done for them? Have you trained? Have you told them what you need from them, or have they listened to what? Very often you'll find in companies it's the workforce that are trying to tell the leadership how things should be done. I mean, I just thought it was, and we said it at the time, the week in which they chose to do it, the day before the biggest night in the history of League of Ireland football. When we were potentially looking at 2 teams qualifying for the group stages.
Yeah.
Talk about not reading the room.
True. By the way, one of the few things that anytime I did pick up my phone, was there was another huge kind of transfer in English football. The BBC did a report which was just kind of striking when they added up all the figures. So basically, there's a new 4-year deal domestically for the Premier League, 7 billion domestically coming in financially, and the expanded European competitions. I mean, half the league is in a European competition at this stage. So there's a lot of money coming in, but nonetheless, what was the line? Oh yes, Premier League clubs spent more than those from Bundesliga, La Liga, Ligue 1, Serie A combined. Uli Hoeneß of Bayern Munich, their honorary president, came out and said, this is completely crazy. Vincent Kompany as well was lamenting it. Like, the way to sum it up is, Sunderland spent more net than any club in mainland Europe apart from Real Madrid.
That's mad.
This is the world we're living in. Like Liverpool, for their 415, this is all sterling, by the way, it was on the BBC, for all their 415 million spent, it's only a net of 228 only, but net 228. So Arsenal net spent more than Liverpool this summer, which would not be the perception. Arsenal 246. Man United net 148, down to Sunderland 118. Chelsea made 3 million. Again, perception and reality.
Who would have thought Chelsea would be the poster boys for the transfer window?
Wrexham, who spent 30 million net, therefore spent more than Barcelona, AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund net. So just the extent to which the Premier League is becoming the world's league is accelerating at the moment, and Uli Hoeneßes of the world are not impressed.
And we can sit here again in 5 years and say, and I'm telling you, it's not sustainable.
Wow.
And it just seems to somehow sustain itself.
It does. Well, like I said, a new 4-year deal, just a domestic deal, and that was a handy 7 billion in the coffers.
And there was worries that they were going to struggle to kind of start, that the whole nature of the whole
dodgy
TV rights
that changing.
Yeah, no sign of it.
No sign of it. Certainly not this transfer window. Jim Gavin. Interesting.
This happened when you were gone.
Yes, sorry. You guys are all bored of this. Sorry, I'm
far from bored.
As in, if I asked you to predict 10 things that might happen when you're gone, you probably wouldn't have had this.
No. I was at a Q&A last year interviewing Jim Gavin. It was a fundraiser for a club, and he was asked by David Brady, of all people, Jim, would you run for president? And he shot the idea down. It was like
that's big J journalism from David Brady there.
It was an unbelievable coup for David Brady. It was like, that was David, that's David. Be serious now. I'm an aviation expert. That was the vibe then, and here we are now. So
I'd say if David Brady had asked him that question 3 weeks ago, he would have got the same answer.
Correct. So I see this morning the Minister for Justice, Jim O'Callaghan, has come out to back Jim Gavin as well over Billy Kelleher. So that kind of means all of the senior cabinet ministers have backed Jim Gavin over Kelleher. Obviously, the parliamentary party will decide on Tuesday coming. But this, the wind is blowing in Jim Gavin's direction. So it looks like he's going to stand the GAA background, the Defence Forces, the North Inner City Project, all of these kind of things. Like I heard Ivan Yates on the podcast with Matt Cooper last week, and Ivan wouldn't suffer. He'd give it to you straight. He went through it, and I sort of agree with him. He made the argument that Gavin is an unbelievably strong candidate. Probably the favourite, justifiable favourite. You've got the core kind of Fianna Fáil vote around the country, which still counts for something, maybe not what it used to. You've got Dublin, which is what, a third of the electorate. You suspect he'll do very well there.
So do you mean strong candidate in terms of viability to win,
Yes.
or what he brings to the role?
No viability to win. I took it.
On paper,
Oh, sorry, gotcha.
looking at what this, because actually what Jim McCallan said today was Gavin is more likely to win than Billy Kelleher.
Right, okay.
And so you lay out, the defence forces aspect. I don't know to what extent that that's not like being in the defence forces in America, but it shows that civic duty and impulse is there in Gavin. And so you lay it out, and it is strong. Plus, this is not the strongest field we've ever seen for a presidential campaign. I suppose the big unknowable, and where this gets fascinating, is Jim Gavin, the candidate, not in principle or in theory, but in practice. And that's where we've never seen Jim Gavin operate before.
This is what I really want to see before I will make any pronouncements as to who I think will win this race. All of Jim Gavin's engagement with the public in the last 10 years has been entirely on his terms. Entirely. We've seen him challenged a couple of times, and he was, there was a little bit of poking the bear a couple of times we've seen, but it's rarely happened. It's always been on his terms. It was always what he wanted to say and what his message was. This is, this is championship hurling now. This is a whole different level of stuff that he's going. Like the presidential elections have become more and more dirty over modern times. Well, and I'm not saying there's dirt, but he will be asked questions that he hasn't been asked before. He has spent an entire career publicly disassociating himself from everything. This is the players, or this is these are. Now he has to put himself front and centre and take the credit for everything that he has done and talk about how good he is as a person. This is a Jim Gavin that we haven't seen before, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this Jim Gavin performs, because there will be an element of performing involved in this.
Same, yeah.
And there's no guarantee. He is the strongest candidate on paper at the moment, but things can happen so fast in that world, and it can be so quick. Something can go wrong that you just haven't. No one has seen it coming. Something simple can happen, and the thing can become derailed in days.
Yeah, well, it does tend to happen in presidential elections in Ireland because in effect, there's no real power with the role. Therefore, you can debate policy, but only to a point. So that all largely gets tossed to one side, and it's about silly stuff.
And who you are as a person. Now, you would assume he's going to do quite well in that, because everything that we've seen from him points to a lot of integrity and a lot of, as you said, civic duty and community mindedness. But it has still always been on his terms, and that's gone now. Once he goes out there, that's gone.
Well, it's the Henry Kissinger line, the university politics being so vicious because the stakes are so small. There's a degree of that with the presidential race. Like, it's so vicious because your economic policy is of no great interest to us here. The two times I've heard him really challenged, I heard him 1.5 times. The more lingering one in my memory was in 2015 when Colin Parkinson interviewed him for Off the Ball. This was after an internal Armagh Dublin match, and Davy Byrne, there was some kind of kerfuffle fight, and Davy Byrne ended up with nasty enough injuries, and I think there was a sense of closing ranks. The GA authorities and the CCCC will not be dealing with this. And he was challenged several times over about, well, is that actually your remit to just say we're not going to do anything here? And it got so frosty, so spiky. And he kind of repeated himself, the same phrase. We had full and frank discussions like several times over. It was a bit like the Paxman interview from the 90s, where it just started to, it was a bit silly. And you're right, John, on his terms, like GA, I don't have to face media again until I don't know, call a press conference at 7 a.m. in a month's time. Yeah, but if he'd have to face the media again in an hour, and again the next day, and then again in a debate 2 days' time, he did not handle it well. What the controversy at hand. And then the other one people have mentioned more recently was Darren Farrell on Morning Ireland talking to him and asking not overly punchy questions, but like reasonable, very reasonable, good questions. What about this, though? What about this with the new rules? And it got to a point where Jim was like, but I don't answer to you. I don't answer to a journalist.
Yeah.
It was like, it was icy.
So this,
And so, yeah, well, just to finish, so these are now going to come in his direction. Like, for instance, it was interesting, Mary Regan, Tabitha Monaghan today on the paper, they checked with the aviation regulator, the Irish Aviation Authority, where Jim, of course, is Chief Operations Officer, and they said, well, what's the story with his job? And they wouldn't comment specifically on any individual, but they said, if anyone takes office of any kind, there's a secondment. So the presumption is for 7 years, potentially, his job would be held. Now, that may not be the case. They may make an exception for 7 years. But say they do go ahead with that, and it's front page news today, and then he's asked about it, and he has to handle that.
yeah.
Or else that becomes because there's nothing else to talk about in 3 days' time. Mary Lou McDonald, what do you think? Is it appropriate that the Aviation Authority, this crucial position, for 7 years, is that best practice? And before you know it, it's Friday, and yeah. So this is the world he's stepping into.
Yeah, and you can't. Jim Gavin is famous. Sorry, Ronan. He is famous for his ability to control the environment that he operates in. There's a certain amount of control here, obviously, because the people who work with you and who are your inner circle will be on message with you. But largely, you do not have control. You go on RT, you go on News Talk, you come in here and do a podcast. The terms of engagement are completely different when you move into this world, and all is fair in love and war.
Yeah.
I wonder if you extrapolate the thing out about I don't answer to you, is he going to be like, I answer to the delegates on the GA thing, I answer to the voters on these things? You know what I mean? Like, he can't really go down that far with that line of thinking.
There's no good will come of that.
No, and also I think he's going to have to get speedily get to grips with what he's willing to divulge in terms of policy and how he's voted in the past and his stances on these different things. Because if those personal opinions, which they once were, are now his professional opinions, and if he's not willing to offer them, then to your point, that stuff becomes a sidebar, and it's actually going to get more personal than he would definitely want, because that's the way these debates go.
He's going to be asked about Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
He's going to be asked about UNIFIL. He's going to be asked about
how did you vote in this referendum?
Exactly.
That referendum?
Irish defence spending. He's going to be asked these questions. Do you think we spend enough on defence? Do you think the army is... Because
you're a Fianna Fáil candidate. One of the reasons you're a Fianna Fáil candidate is because they bankrupted the country effectively just over 20 years ago. Why were you so impressed with Fianna Fáil that you felt they were the party for you?
Yeah.
And look, Jim's an unbelievably capable man. I think that's the headline here. Like, I still think I think he'll win.
Yeah.
I think he'll win, and he's an unbelievably impressive candidate. But I'm just fascinated to see how he's going to handle all this. He may well handle it beautifully, but he's unpracticed. And he'll be in a debate, potentially with Mary Lou McDonald beside him. And what other, the lineup is like the usual suspects. Who knows what ends up in there? So how he handles all that is going to be amazing, because he's no longer in charge, as you said, in his terms. And then I suppose the second point is the extent to which, here's my family.
That's what I mean.
Here's me.
Yeah.
Like, there's the antagonistic questions, and then there's the VIP want to do one in the family home. How much do you want to give up there? So
I'm getting interested.
it's
I'm looking forward to it.
Fascinating.
I'm looking forward to seeing him, because he's one of the most interesting and important people in the history of the modern GAA for lots of different reasons.
How strongly do you think the GAA thing will feature in his favour? Not so much in Dublin, he won us all those All-Irelands, but I mean, Mayo aside, any county around the country.
It's a funny...
Someone will say, you know what, I'm a GAA person. The thought of Jim walking out on All-Ireland final day, that feels right. GAA should at some point be represented in the Áras. It's such a big part of our culture. For GAA and nothing else, I'm going to give him my vote. How strong do you think that current is?
Yeah, I think for someone who dominated the landscape and made football so boring for 10 years just because he presided over a team that won everything, he hasn't actually built up much. Jesus, I'm sick of him. I don't want to see any more of him. I think he's held rather favourably outside of Dublin, be my sense of it.
Yeah, he's not an...
So I think he will get the GAA vote.
You do?
At large, yeah. Without question, I think.
Well, sorry, he'll get the GAA vote because there's only one GAA candidate. But to what extent will the GAA supersede? I'm a Fine Gael person.
Oh,
but you know what?
no, I think for the undecided that will sway it. If they're GA inclined, they'll vote for him.
Yeah, I think it's significant. I do.
It is significant, but it's not.
Home run.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't
party
always
politics.
follow. It doesn't always follow through because there will be there are parts of the country where your party allegiance will trump your love of the GA.
Yeah, party politics.
Politics is politics.
Still rules everything in this country.
Weirdly, Fine Gael have never managed to successfully nominate a president, elect one. It's insane when you think there's only two of them for so long. They've had a poor enough relationship with the Áras.
Like, it doesn't always translate. I'm trying to, like Graham Garrity is an example of somebody who's revered in Meath as one of the greats, if not the greatest player to ever come out of the counties. Definitely top 3 or 4. Very, very popular guy. Ran for Fine Gael and didn't perform. So there's a funny thing there.
I don't say this disrespectfully to Graham.
No,
you don't. But like, there's a degree there of Jim is a substantive character who's not just running on the basis of his sporting popularity. Like a career in in public service, his seriousness as a person. You know, it's not like for like, but even the way he oversaw the FRC, that you could see just how capable he is, and the North Inner City Project redevelopment, which he's very much to the fore of. That's a whole lot more than just.
I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily translate. I mean, John O'Mahony was an example on the other side of a real serious guy in Mayo who was returned as a teacher. So it can work both ways. It's not a home run.
No,
it's not a free hit.
No, for sure.
You still have to back it up.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody who, by their own admission, is not a GAA fan, and her honest answer to me was, "I've never heard of this man." Now, probably in the minority, but it's also worth just stating there are some people whose life is not governed by sport, so he'll be at a standing start with some.
Yeah, he will.
The new NFL season is on this evening.
You pumped? You were once an NFL follower, weren't you? Golf just overtook it.
It's difficult on a Sunday. It's a great sport. Do I have 4 hours to watch a match every Sunday? I don't. But we are underway. Philadelphia Eagles, defending champions. They stopped the three-peat. It's hard. The memory plays tricks against Kansas City Chiefs. So
welcome, quote unquote, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, this evening.
I saw for the opening weekend, Los Angeles Chargers are playing Kansas City Chiefs in Sao Paulo. So they're just
they're taking flight, aren't they?
They really are. And so our designated team is Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be in the way that the Jaguars go to London every season.
Yeah.
I suppose hope here is this is a huge commercial success, and Pittsburgh Steelers come here once a season. That's kind of.
Is it going to be once a season?
No, it's not guaranteed, but that would be
hope.
Incredible. Yeah, that would be the hope. I think it's just whether Croke Park can spare that weekend for them every single year.
Oh, I suspect they will.
I was kind of the rhetorical point. Joe.
Oh, sorry.
Like this talk about moving All Ireland finals and stuff. I think it's to placate a certain quarter of the.
So if it moves, and I think it will. Sorry,
only into August.
Yeah. So this is late September. This is happening because there was an email in this morning from the PR people around this. So it is going to really take over the week of the game. For instance, Merrion Square in Dublin. Beautiful kind of you couldn't think of a better kind of environment, is going to have a 3-day free tailgate experience. So, and on game day as well, big screen, you can watch the match there. So they're going to have all sorts of things going on, Merrion Square, and then there's like pop-up shops around the city, all this kind of stuff. So I guess it's going to be big. I think it's going to come and pass me by a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I like plugging into the pomp and circumstance of the whole American sports craziness.
Will you drop into Merrion Square?
I probably will. But the point I was going to make is, and it comes around all the time when that college game happens in August, that they do such a good job of visibility in the week up, the week leading up. Why do we not do this for All Ireland finals? It's a missed opportunity. And just chatting to some of my friends, it's kind of I kind of like our All Ireland final thing where it's not low key, but it happens in an organic way, and it's not necessarily taking over the city. But
it's two very different cultures. I think there'd be too much of a can't be arsed about an Irish
Like if there was a
build up like that.
Yeah, Irish would say, would you cop on?
if there was
Yeah.
a 3-day tailgate at Marion Square for the All Ireland football final that's just happened, and Kerry legends of the past and Donegal legends of the past were on show, and musicians from the region were playing on these days, and food from the different counties was on offer. Do you think anyone would go?
Sounds
Yeah.
like a 3-day up for the match experience, and
It's 3 day up for the match.
There are
Yeah,
always people who just love going to things, but like,
I don't think I could handle that.
I just
it
don't.
wouldn't be for me.
To John's point, I just don't think we're culturally wired that way.
no, we're not. Steelers obviously has the Rooney link. I guess that was the obvious.
Yeah, and that's a sincere enough link. Like they've come here in decades past, and yeah, they've been holding watch parties here for the last couple of years, for example. So kind of planting seeds.
And this is the NFL strategy, isn't it? And okay, so the Rooney link with Ireland is sort of real, but there is a degree of like pick an NFL team, pick I was going to say a place, let's call it a market, so the Jaguars will be England's team, London's team in an ideal world. Everyone will start. England will be Jaguars.
Yeah.
Germany will be the Colts. We'll be the Steelers. And by giving it lots of countries teams, they'll sort of.
We're a very small market.
We are. I don't know what we're bringing
Yeah,
to
in
the party.
comparison to where like Germany and
That's a
the
very
UK.
fair point.
I actually don't think it wouldn't be worth their while to pick Ireland as a market.
No.
You know, so I think it is actually more of the Steelers pushing hard for this,
Okay.
and not to make this is not a political incident. They would see Ireland within the NFL UK brand.
Yeah.
So the Wembley has had so many games. Tottenham Hotspur have had games. So the next strand of that would probably be to give Dublin a game,
Yeah, okay.
Cardiff a game,
That's fair.
Scotland a game.
Yeah, I have an inflated sense of us. There's 3 million, 4 million people over there.
No,
We
like
can get hold of them.
if they were going that way, rather than going to Germany every year with different fixtures, they would pick a team and say, "You're Germany's team now."
Okay, so they're not doing that because that was my understanding. of
They
what
bring
were doing.
different teams. They've brought different teams to Germany each year. They've done games there,
Oh, sorry. Okay.
but there's a designated home team for each game.
yeah,
So
but,
in this,
but it's not the same team that they're just.
no.
Okay,
But
sorry.
for
I've
this
got that
for
wrong.
this one, the Colts, for example, are getting the full billing. Like they're the home team.
Yeah, I saw that. By the way, somebody just sent me an email in. Loads of fascinating stuff about just the scale of NFL, but he was pointing out that Forbes have shown now that the average NFL team is worth $7 billion. So this is 3 times the average top 30 teams in Europe. I.e., you take the most valuable team in the world, soccer team, it's Real Madrid. They're worth about $6.5 billion. So your average NFL team is $7 billion. The scale of it is really incredible. 2:30 kickoff time. Hate that. Hate that, by the way.
I don't mind it. I was at the Ravens Titans game in London. It was nice, like getting out of the stadium at 5:30.
I want floodlights. Want the evening.
Okay.
Bill Belichick, by the way, made his debut as North Carolina
Not good.
head coach, and they were humiliated 48-14 at the hands of TCU. They looked, quote, unprepared, undisciplined, and were overmatched against a veteran team. And ESPN had sent its A-team to cover it, and it was like a stand-in for Monday Night Football, and it was a very embarrassing start for Belichick. On my holidays, every evening, it was either CNN International or Deutschland Eurosport. That's not a joke. So I've watched a lot of the Vuelta a España, but it's in the news this week. There was no stage winner yesterday, the 11th stage in Bilbao in the Basque region, because there was a pro-Palestinian protest against Israel Premier Tech, one of the teams in the Vuelta. So they disrupted the 11th stage. The race had to be halted 3 kilometres out from the original finish line. Guardian wrote a piece saying there are suggestions that some members of the peloton would like the team to withdraw from the race. Now, it doesn't say if that's because they find what's happening in Gaza abhorrent or they just don't like the hassle of the protests. But nonetheless, that sentiment seems to be there in the peloton. It's the second incident of the Vuelta. Last week, time trials were disrupted. The Israel Premier Tech team disrupted by activists holding Palestinian flags. So the Basque region was always kind of going to be...
You would feel that would be a flashpoint anyway.
Local political parties were calling for them to be kicked out of the Vuelta in the build-up. So there we go. I mean, that's not insignificant. I mean, it's nothing official. Obviously, it's just protests. Also this week, Alexander Sefrin, UEFA boss, was saying he's not in favour of banning teams. He made the point that banning Russia has not helped the situation in Ukraine. Obviously, Maccabi Tel Aviv are going to be in the Europa League this season. Aston Villa included amongst their opponents. But it's not surprising this kind of thing is happening. And something like the Vuelta, where there's such easy access and easy to disrupt, is just an obvious target.
Yeah, and it does feel like there's pockets of resistance starting to spread up, and not resistance, but we were talking about it earlier, and I think we talked about it before. There's this really, everyone has this kind of, not everyone, but a lot of people have this sense of helplessness hanging over them, and they don't really know what to do or what to say. And we had the situation with the current and former GA players and their letters about Allianz as a GA sponsor. So it just feels like all these, and maybe at some point when we look back in history, these little small pockets will be seen as the start of something that starts to connect more and more.
Yes.
But sport is in a very tricky situation there in terms of what's the right thing to do. Do you know, that team's not going to be kicked out of the Vuelta, but there's sort of a hint, is there, maybe you should do the decent thing and step aside, which they've said they're not going to do.
That's right. Yeah, the team, Israel Premier Tech, have said we're absolutely finishing the Vuelta.
And you feel maybe when they get it, they're gambling that when they get out of the Basque region that things might be a little better for them.
Yeah. I saw as well there was a basketball match. It was a wheelchair basketball match, so it didn't have the eyes of the world on it necessarily, but during the anthem, it was a British team turned their backs on the Israeli team. And I think the Israeli team have written a protest letter to the governing body. But these things are starting to happen with more frequency now. Elsewhere, quick mentions as we wrap up. Sunday, 2:45, Ireland, New Zealand in the World Cup. Quarter-final is already guaranteed. If they lose, they'll have France, which was always kind of the likely case. But a shot at New Zealand is on Sunday, 2:45. US Open Friday night, Alcaraz versus Djokovic in the men's. Has a lot of people interested, with Yannick Sinner in the other semi-final. So a fair chance Alcaraz and Sinner go again, a trilogy this season in the majors. And then that Liverpool parade driver, Paul Doyle, 53, accused of driving into crowds at Liverpool's victory parade. He's pleaded not guilty to 31 offences. So that is going to continue in a high-profile way, I would suspect. And then Irish Open is on, the K Club. Rory started well and finished badly, so he's 5 off the lead, as is Brooks Koepka.
Wasn't happy about being on the clock for a lot of the round.
Was he?
Yeah, his group wasn't. They lost a hole.
They went around in under 4 hours, though.
Yeah, he said it was just like felt like somebody making a point because it was a kind of a stellar group. But they did lose a hole on the group in front of them.
Okay.
So.
Shane Lowry didn't start well, but finished very strongly, so he's only 3 off the lead. The Irish Open is one of these curious events whereby it'll be well attended, and it is. Like, the crowds were amazing today for like 7, 8 a.m. If one of the big few are in contention Sunday, it'll be centre of Sunday sports viewing. If it's a bunch of people don't know, not at all. It's kind of the Irish Open's boom or bust kind of.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You were there earlier in the week. You got a nice sense of it.
Tuesday, yeah, it's lovely. Like, there is a thing with the K Club. It's so handy. It's a beautiful golf course. Like, handy if you live in Dublin, excuse me. You know, for a lot of the media and a lot of players, you can fly into Dublin Airport. There is probably a lack of soul to the thing. Like, there is just a nagging sense that this is fundamentally where Deloitte have their corporate day. You know, it can't shake that versus a links course like a Lahinch was for me that was the greatest of all. I've been to all the Irish Opens in the last 15 years. That was the best. That was perfection, really. But like, even, you know, Royal County Down and these places, there is something about links in Ireland. And
so should it be a links every year, do you think?
I would possibly lean that way. Yeah. But like, if someone made a strong argument, hang on, we have great parkland courses, we should show that to the world as well. We're doing it every second year now. What's wrong with that? We have to make money. I don't feel that strongly about it. I'm not a zealot about it.
Yeah, that would be my view on it. There was a time where I probably felt it should always be a links course, but now that we've got the Open coming here, feels like it's not as big a priority now as it might have been once upon a time, because we do get to showcase links golf in Ireland through the Open.
Point, yeah. And there's probably...
And we have really fantastic parkland courses as well.
We do. And there's probably something where it is in the calendar now, it's not like you can really say to the likes of Koepka, who's here, or other players are here, come, it's 3 weeks to the Open, you get to tune up your links play.
Yeah.
You know, there's a degree of it's September. You're not going to play links again for nearly 9 months. It's probably going to be windy. Instead, you know, it's autumn is coming. Come and play links and get battered for 4 days. So there is something. There's probably a nicer sell about K Club, Parkland, 5-star, Dublin Airport. You know,
Guarantee the pros like it.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that helps
Yeah.
with people.
Getting them in
Yeah, unless you're Sergio Garcia and you've said throw your toys out of the pram and pull out last
again.
minute. Yeah.
I couldn't understand what the connection between not that I couldn't understand, but not making the Ryder Cup team, which he was, as James Corrigan brilliantly wrote yesterday, he was absolutely no chance.
I'm surprised he thought he was in the mix.
Yeah, this
That
is
was the
James
big
Corrigan's point. I mean, but why was he coming to the Irish Open thinking that it was going to be his victory lap after he
I
was
think
announced
so.
as a wild card?
And spend some time with his teammates. Quite a
Yeah.
few of them are here. I think that was
And
probably
try
his
and
thing.
build fences again with
Yeah,
some of them.
Europe. I presume so.
That must have been his thinking.
Yeah, but his statement was like, I'm so heartbroken. I need to take time away. But like, that doesn't really. I find that hard to square. He is the guy who which in the grand tradition of prodigies, he is an underdeveloped person. A few exceptions. You'd say Rory's actually a rare exception, like a well-rounded person. So Sergio's not. Like when Harrington won the Open in 2007, Sergio's doing interviews afterwards where like some players get all the luck and some players get none of the luck. You know, it was not very gracious. And when he was leaving the PGA Tour for Live, I always remember it. There was a ruling he wanted from, you know, like a referee in the PGA Tour on a Thursday or something, and he didn't get it. And like he screams, "I can't wait to get off this tour!"
It's
as he's going to Live.
Yeah.
Like this tour that's probably given you 50 million, afforded you a life that the rest of us could only dream of, and you're acting like you work in a sweatshop.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the problem with being
It's a shame because
enabled your whole life.
he was one of those people that you really gravitated towards when he came on the scene.
Yeah.
Like a
Nino.
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, he was fresh and
Yeah.
fighting and look, when things are all on his terms, there's a great charm to him. But
It's
there's
easy to
zero tolerance for
Easy to be likable when everything is on your terms.
kind of. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's us done.
I think so.
Tomorrow's Friday, thank God.
Long week.
What a week! John
The week
Greene.
is only beginning, Joe. The week is only
Well, for
beginning.
some of us, yeah. John Greene, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Ronan Mullen, it's lovely to again.
I think you actually meant that.
No, I did.
You look sincere.
No.
Thanks, Joe. Likewise.
Very enjoyable. It's nice to be back surrounded by my phone and screens and the internet.
So many screens.
Not my thoughts. Thanks, everyone.